I then find out that I can request orals. Normally what you do is you put an appellate brief in. It gets read by somebody, who knows, clerk, law student. A lot of these things are, by the way, done by law students, you know, who have already been recently trained, indoctrinated in the fact that the court's there to protect the attorneys conducting frauds. And so anyways, I find out that you can also request orals. Now, orals, you get about 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It might have been 30 minutes for non-capital punishment matters, and I think it was like 40 minutes or something, or maybe it was 30 minutes for, you know, if your life's about to be ended. In other words, you've been, you know, designated capital punishment, in other words, death. So, so anyway, I find out you can request orals. And what that is 3 judges are going to be hearing the case simultaneously. So, but you have to fill out a form as to why you are requesting orals. And so on this form I write, so that I can document that the 3 appellate judges were simultaneously made aware of all the high crimes of the lower court, so that they cannot escape a showing of collusion and conspiracy in so doing. So I'm kind of telling them right up front, and that's kind of the way I am, where I'm coming from. So I request they give me they confirm your when they confirm your orals that you've been, you know, you can get orals, and then you have to provide what's called a confirmation. I think you have to file it with them, a confirmation of orals. In other words, you agree with a date. You still want orals. That's what it is. So I do this, and I decide to go down there and like observe one of these hearings. Sit in on one of these hearings, kind of get an idea of how the game is played. And so I go down there and do that, and I come out, and I'm walking out in the through the office where they had rejected my briefs before, and one of the secretaries, I don't know what her position was, but she was one of the girls that sits at the computer where I had watched them enter my confirmation of orals. In the, you know, there was I wasn't about to go, you know, do the thing where you file something and then they call you back. I made sure it was stamped, filed, boom, received, and a notation put right in the computer. So one of the girls in there goes, "Oh, Mr. Brailer, what are you doing down here?" In other words, by this time they all know me from the arguments that I've conducted at the bench there, at their front counter there. They all know me by name, and so anyway, she says, "What are you doing down here?" I says, "Well, I thought I'd sit in on one of these appeal hearings and see how the game is played." And she says, "Well, you're not scheduled for orals." And I says, "I most certainly am." She says, "Well, we have no record of your confirmation orals." I said, "What do you mean you don't have my confirmation of orals?" She said, "We don't." She looks in the computer, and in other words, they know right offhand that it's missing from the computer. Before she looked at the computer, she says, "Mr. Brailer, you know, you haven't signed a confirmation of orals," which I had, and which I had seen put into the computer. I don't know if it was by her or by another. It must have been by one of the otother girls in the office there. They had, you know, like 2-3 rows of computers there, or desks with computers on them. Anyways, so I said, "Well, I most certainly did." I said, "I'm going to be right back. I believe I have a copy of the confirmation of orals stamped, filed at home." So I get home and I get a telephone call. "Oh, Mr. Brailer, we have located your confirmation of orals. Sorry, if you'd like to come back down here, please come back down here." So I come back down, and the woman who was the clerk in the hearing that morning, which comes into the room with the placard board, which I had seen her flipping through when she was sitting at the desk during the orals with the 3 judges for other people. And she goes through this, and she goes, "Ah, here it is," and picks off my confirmation of orals document off of her clipboard. And it's one of these 2-ring binder clipboards. So the question is, they take my orals confirmation out of the computer and it gets put on her clipboard. What the hell's going on? Okay. So I said, okay, so am I now still set for orals? And they go, no, you've been taken off. You know, we didn't have your confirmation. I said, the confirmation is right here on your clerk's thing. Doesn't matter. You're going to have to wait until the next session is set. And this can take like months. They don't do that. They don't have these sessions that often. They do, and when they do it, it's a large courtroom full of attorneys in suits. So anyways, you know, what they've done is they've given themselves more time to get 3 judges that are going to agree to fuck me, is what I think they're doing here. You know, they probably showed that appeal to a few of these judges and went, hey, I'm overturning this for fraud on a court immediately. This is absolutely... So anyways, they reset me for orals, and my day of orals comes up, and I come, and I'm sitting about halfway back, and I'm telling you, there are at least, Jesus, 7, 14, about 14 seats across, and probably 20 or more rows back, every seat having an attorney in it. So anyhow, I get called first. My case gets called first. So, you know, another way to, you know, call the person first, and he doesn't get to watch how the others play the game. Well, I'd already watched. So anyway, just before this trial date, this appeal date, I had received a notice, and it said, it was from the Second Court of Appeal, and it said I should provide them a reason why they should not sanction me. And by the way, sanctions come in like $20,000 increments. Why they should not sanction me for $20,000 should they find my appeal to be frivolous. And I think I blew it off. So anyways, first question the 3 judges asked me, or one of the 3 judges asked me, is, Mr. Brailer, is there any reason this court should not sanction you should it find your appeal to be frivolous? In other words, I'm pointing out numerous high crimes by the lower court. They have already decided my appeal is going to be adjudged frivolous, or they wouldn't have bothered asking me this question. And the way I replied was, well, first of all, I says, I haven't had the training all your boys out here have had, whereby I would know better than to do what I'm doing. And secondly, the only thing frivolous about my appeal is you're threatening to sanction me and find it frivolous. And he went, okay, Mr. Brailer, state your case. So what I do is I show him what I do the comparison that I've done between the documents submitted and the medical records, 3 medical records submitted, and the 3 medical records from the trash, which were impeached, which were taken by the judge, and the jury was not allowed to look, and I covered the misrepresentation that I had somehow, you know, clandestinely altered these things to fool a jury, and then I showed the judges the x-rays, which I was not allowed to show, and what these x-rays showed. Because you're not given much time. It's not like you're going to be able to cover the whole case. And I finished my argument, and you know, it's the plaintiff's time to counter my argument for the appeal, and he's not even going to counter. He's, you know, expressly he's not going to counter. And the judge turns to him and goes, Mr. Berkowitz, are you going to be requiring extra expenses for this appeal? And Berkowitz, who is thinking he has lost this thing, you know, and he's saying an attorney would have thought he had lost this thing, says, oh yes, Your Honor, I'd like expenses for the appeal. So anyways, needless to say, they do the same game. Well, we take it under advisement when we make our decisions later. Okay? Whenever they do that, you know you're about to get screwed, because if nothing else, they're going back to see if the rest of the court's going to back them in whatever kind of a fucking you're going to get. And by fucking I mean violations of law, treason and tyranny under color of law.